Hello and happy new year, all of you Laziali all over the world that are following the Lazio Lounge. We finished last year not in a good move with a last second defeat against AC Milan. Thinks the new year could start a little bit different, and Alison McKenzie, we got a point, but I think I'm more disappointed today after this draw against Genoa than after the defeat against AC Milan. Am I right? You feel the same?
Yes, probably. Well, yeah, Happy New Year to all the listeners, first of all. I wish it was a bit happier. I think the reason for that, though, is the performance, isn't it? Because although we lost to Milan, it was against a team, who are unbeaten this season, who are top of the league, and who Lazio actually completely outplayed for about 3/4 of that match. And so that was a kind of sign, I guess, an encouraging sign that improvement might be around the corner. But what we've seen now, any argument about, Lazio can't play every 3 days, it kind of goes out the window when something like this happens. They have a big break, well, not a big break, but they have 10 days off and then come back and put in a performance which is up there, I'd say, with one of their worst of the season, and look quite tired to go with it. And it's more drop points against a team, struggling at the bottom end of the table. And if you want to have any hope of qualifying for Europe this season, you just can't drop points in these games. So I guess you're right. I think we although we've got a point this time, we don't have that kind of faith in this team going in the right direction from what we've just seen.
And the thing is, the first half, Lazio absolutely dominated the match, right? Lazio had 60% of ball possession with Genoa only 40. So this tells you a lot. But then, if you go and think about it, Alistair, Perin didn't do nothing. And Lazio had 60% of ball possession. And we scored only on a penalty. This is saying that we have ball possession, we pressure, but we are not creating any more chances like we did last year, for example. And this is a huge problem, I think.
Yeah. We've had quite a few questions today, so I'm going to try and start dropping them in. There was one on this very point. Oliver Pill, this was it. He said, I miss watching good football. Where's the inspiration, creativity, the spark? Then he mentions, 70% in the possession in the first half. He says 60% overall, and we didn't achieve anything from that. Why are we so predictable? Again, and that is the problem, isn't it? And that was the thing I liked the most in that Milan game, was the fact that they raised the tempo and the intensity a lot, and that was what actually suddenly brought that team to life and caused a lot of problems for that Milan team. We're not seeing that nearly enough against teams like Genoa, who are going to sit with 5 players at the back, 4 players in midfield, and frustrate you. And Lazio have no right to complain about that strategy, because it's going to happen while football exists. It's just part of the fabric of football, really. So I just think they really need to play with a hell of a lot more intensity and up the tempo of their game, instead of going in and out of the match, and stop doing this thing they've been doing all season, which is after they've taken the lead, completely dropping back and kind of falling asleep for a period, which I thought they did again today.
Yes, but Alistair, Genoa started playing much better when they, instead of dropping back, they start to pressure. They put another striker, a trequartista. They switched to a 3-5-2 to a 3-4-1-2. And suddenly Lazio couldn't handle them. It looks like, whoa, hey, what's going on? It's Real Madrid now. It's not anymore Genoa. And we struggle. We couldn't handle that. And it's simply, again, it looked like it wasn't Mattia Destro, but it was Benzema playing against us. I mean, we let Mattia Destro score. We were winning 1-0, and we got a counter-attack from Genoa that find the equalizer like that. This is simply not acceptable from a team that should be very experienced. The way that, I don't remember who was, but dribble past Leiva for the goal, it's simply unacceptable from a player, the experience of Lucas Leiva. So it's not that they simply defend. It's when they start pushing, Lazio simply collapsed.
The whole thing for the goal, I thought, was unacceptable, because it's one clearance from a free kick, and suddenly there's a bit of a break. But if you actually look at it, it's not a proper breakaway. Lazio have 4 players against Genoa's 2. That is a situation that you should be able to control. It's exactly the kind of situation that you end up drilling when you're doing training routines. 4 against 2. There are 2 Lazio players for each Genoa striker, and somehow, like you say, one skips past Leva, the other one manages to find his way between, I think it was Felipe and Radu. And I just think there was a complete lack of organisation. And it's this lapse, these lapses in concentration that happen defensively that keep giving teams chances. You know, that was the way I put it after the match, was that the same old problems we've got this season is we're struggling to create the chances. We're relying so much on Immobile, who's, you know, he's got 14 goals in 14 games, and we're still not winning any. How frustrating must that be for him? So we're not really scoring enough, and we're always giving teams a chance. It's a strange situation, because you would say with Immobile on the pitch, you could say, oh, you're starting 1-0 up. But then you could say, well, with this Lazio defence on the pitch, you're actually starting at 1-1 in every game, because they're not keeping any clean sheets.
Absolutely. And you know, we talk about Murici coming in against AC Milan for Correa injured, but I don't know if you feel the same. Caicedo didn't do nothing today. 80 minutes of nothing, absolutely nothing from Caicedo. And now I understand why Inzaghi put in Murici, because if this is Caicedo, then yeah, I'd rather play Alistair instead of him.
Well, thank you. I think that's a bit harsh. I think in the first half, Caicedo did okay. I mean, he won a lot of fouls in good positions, and that's the kind of positional stuff that he does, the hard work. Then again, you know, that chance when Lazzari just has to put the ball in his feet, he presumably would have scored there. He's completely on his own inside the box. All he needed was an accurate pass, and it ends up behind him. So, I don't know. I think that he's not making as much of an impact as we would like. Again, Murici comes on, but a lot of this for me, I mean, this is what I tweeted during the game, and we've got Darren L here who got in touch with us to say the same thing, was we're chasing a win and we're not getting past Genoa's defence, so why wait until the 80th minute to bring on Pereira to change the game? And Murici. I mean, those were the only attacking substitutions Inzaghi made today, and he waited that long to make them despite Lazio having a terrible second half. I mean, do you have any explanation for that?
I don't know, especially because we have to be honest, both Milinkovic Savic and Luis Alberto played terrible in the second half. So it was clear that he should have made some changes before, right? Especially because every time Pereira come in, we say, well, he's playing well. He should have more space, more time on the pitch. And instead, he's not having it. So, you know, I really don't understand. I really don't understand. And seeing Napoli winning, Roma winning, Atalanta winning, now the Champions League, it's not close anymore. I think against Fiorentina, it's the last call. So I think Inzaghi has to maybe make the change now. Is Luis Alberto worthy to start now? I don't think so. Give a chance to Andres Pereira. And then the other thing, Alistair, is he's so quick to make the change to sub a defender who get the yellow card or Leva who get the yellow card. We know it immediately, right? When a defender gets the yellow card, he's out, right? Why does it take so long to take off Luis Alberto every time? I think Luis Alberto in the second half disappeared, didn't do nothing. We played 10 men down in the second half. It's easier for Genoa to defend when the other team is playing without one or two players, because even Milinkovic Savic was tired. So I don't understand. We saw it. Why Inzaghi didn't see it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes to show the trust he has in these players, probably. And I think, yes, that might be merited with Murici, who's struggled so far. We talked quite a lot about Murici in the last podcast after Milan, so we don't need to, give the guy a hard time again today. But I think with Pereira, there isn't the same argument. I think that he has shown in the chances he's had that he has something to offer, and it baffles me that he's had so few opportunities considering the impact he has made when he's come on. I don't know if it's because he doesn't have a long-term future at the club that Inzaghi maybe thinks, well, there's no way they're going to spend, 22 million or so on his buyout at the end of the season. But you've got to use what you've got. And I just think that of the options we have on that bench, he's the one that stands out at the moment. When you're in need of creativity, a creative spark, he's really the only option we've got. So unless Lazio sign someone in January, which we all know is a very faint and distant hope.
Right?
Well, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to imagine Lazio making a meaningful signing of a player who go into this starting lineup. But I have to say, Vittorio, I mean, it's hard to think of a season in recent seasons under Inzaghi anyway, when I feel like we kind of need that as much as we do now. I feel like this team needs some kind of fresh impetus in it to just change things a bit, blow the cobwebs away.
And the other thing, Alistair, is, the not written rule of football is you don't change a team that's winning or is playing great football. We have to be honest. Luis Alberto is playing rubbish this season. So it's not that you say, well, Andreas Pereira cannot come in because, hey, guys, Luis Alberto is playing amazing football. No, he's playing bad like all the rest of the team. So the thing annoys me is every single manager, when things go bad, try to change things a little bit, maybe play someone else, etc. Except Inzaghi. Inzaghi still keep 3-5-2, Luis Alberto, Milinkovic, Savic, Correa, Immobile. Correa is injured, Caicedo. That's it. No changes, no substitution, nothing. We are predictable. So my concern is that, as you were saying at the beginning, Inzaghi relies so much on his players, right? Luis Alberto, they're a little bit, I don't want to say relaxed, but when you have that confidence, that trust, etc., the attention a little bit dropped down, the willing to prove everybody that he's the best slow down. So I fear that it's a sort of end of the circle, right? It's maybe we should have changed things last summer if this is the result. If Luis Alberto is playing like that, then maybe it would have been better to move past from him and sign someone else instead of him.
Well, I would hesitate before calling it the end of the cycle, because the most frustrating thing for me above all this season is that Lazio have had nights where you do see how good they are. And this is the thing where it's hard to not just buy into the mentality argument again. Because what we're seeing now is that when it really matters to these players, when they're on the big occasion, whether that's the Champions League nights, whether that's against Napoli or Milan or Inter, Juve, they have stepped up to a level that they've not been producing at all in these other games. And I don't think that the playing every 3 days thing is enough on its own as an excuse.
No,
and
it's not.
So then it's like a case of why the players can't motivate themselves, why Inzaghi can't motivate them, and why this has changed so much. This is the most frustrating thing for me above all, is that Lazio have turned their biggest strength into their biggest weakness this season. Last season, Lazio were winning all these games, and they found every single way of doing it. It was in the last minute, or they would launch comebacks, or they would, they'd always find some way of getting these results they needed to keep the points ticking, to stay in that position in the table. Whereas now they're not doing that at all.
No, definitely. And this is the most concerning part, because if they don't find a way to win against Genoa when you're 1-0 up, then it's going to be tough. Wednesday against Fiorentina, then there's the derby coming up. So I'm really scared, because on the other side you see teams. We saw Napoli. It's not an incredible team, and they beat Sassuolo. No, that was Atalanta, sorry. But they found a way to win against Cagliari. Atalanta, that we will say was struggling, destroyed Sassuolo. Roma beat Sampdoria. The only team that doesn't find a way to win is Lazio. So I'm really scared. Normally, other clubs would go this winter and sign a couple of key players. We know it's not going to happen. So I'm really concerned. Honestly, against Fiorentina, I would bench Luis Alberto, but I know it's not going to happen.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, it is tempting to feel like we need something new. You know, it's now 2 wins in 9 games, I think, in all competitions, and that's including, you know, losing to Verona, losing to Udinese, drawing against Benevento, drawing against Genoa. I mean, these are bad results. And looking at the next 2 games ahead, Fiorentina are another struggling team. Yes, they just destroyed Juventus before Christmas, so they do have good players in that team and a lot of ability, but in reality, that is a struggling team this season that at home Lazio should be dispatching. And beyond that, there's Parma. So this looks like the perfect little run-up after the winter break to get Lazio ready for the Rome derby. But now it's kind of terrifying, because what worse way of approaching a derby than not managing to get the results you expect in those matches. So I think there's a hell of a lot of pressure on Inzaghi and the players to change things, to find a way of doing it differently, because it's going to be the same against Parma. They're going to defend, they're going to dig in deep, they're going to restrict the spaces, they're going to lock down Luis Alberto. You know, we know what's coming, but it's not helping us overcome that problem.
I think the biggest problem, Alistair, is that Parma knows what is coming, right? Lazio will play with 3-5-2. Luis Alberto is the key player. Then there's Milinkovic Savic. Lucas Leiva is in the same position. Ciro Immobile goes deep. You know that they're going to find him deep. That's it, right? That's Lazio. And it's going to be the same Wednesday. Inzaghi is not going to change things. So every team, even if they have 1 day to prepare, they already know what's happening. It's not that suddenly Lazio will play with a 4-3-3 and so on. So, but we saw it. Genoa changed from 3-5-2 to 3-4-1-2, and Lazio struggled to adapt. So, I don't know. Maybe it's time to change even the lineup, the 3-5-2. Give a go to something else.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, there have been a few times under Inzaghi that has been a very popular, opinion, isn't it? And I think that's coming back strongly now. I'm not sure if the formation change is gonna, bring about suddenly a completely different performance from this team. I'm pretty skeptical about that. Speaking of Fiorentina, that's what happened to them this season. Beppe Chini leaves and Prandelli comes in, and everyone's saying, finally, we move on from the 3-5-2 and have players in the right positions. And he has an absolutely terrible time to start with. So I don't think it is the answer, always just trying something new. I also don't think we have the players to play in the back four. But that's another discussion.
I would argue that Prandelli is not a great manager. So, that's not helping the case of changing. But the thing is, against Genoa, you should be able to win, even with a 3-5-2, even playing badly. The talent of Milinkovic Savic, Immobile, and so on should be enough to beat Genoa. Instead, we weren't. I could be wrong, but I think Ciro Immobile had the penalty and 1 chance in the first half, and that was it. I don't remember incredible saves from Perin today. This is the most concerning thing. We weren't able to create chances against Genoa. There were penalties, blah, 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 etc. Still, against Genoa, you have to find a way to score. And Lazio today wasn't able to find it. I think we can blame Inzaghi, definitely, but the players as well has to step up. They're professional players. They're paid to win, and I don't think they're giving everything, or at least they didn't do it against Genoa.
Well, I'll read out a few more of the comments we've had along the same lines. Christopher Thomas said, very poor start to the new year. It's just the same old story from last year. Don't see anything changing much. Another lower table team playing better than us. Terrible. Alex Carpenter, again on Maric, he said, is he being misused or is he just not good enough? I personally think he's just useless. He looks way too nervous every time he plays. I mean, we talked about Marici quite a lot last time, as I already mentioned, so I don't think we're after 10 minutes of seeing him today, we need to go down that rabbit hole again. But how about this? Diane Putra Tri Pamunkas, I'm sorry if I butchered that name, says, for now, my only wish this season is not losing against Roma, home and away. Lazio, or should I say Inzaghi, simply lack creativity, concentration and determination. Winning the Coppa Italia is probably our last chance to get to Europe next season. Terrible. Do you think that's too negative a way of looking at things, or are you feeling similarly?
You know what? These type of matches are the one that make you, or at least make me feel that, have we overrated Simone Inzaghi? Is he that great manager we're thinking of, or maybe he's been lucky because he has Milinkovic, Savic, Luis Alberto, and so on? Because we said it at the start, the substitution today were far too late. This team is getting predictable. The other thing, Alistair, is we heard all week long that Luis Felipe couldn't start because he's injured. Then why does he come in the second half? If he's not fit to play, then why does he play afterwards? I don't know. I think that there are big responsibility from Inzaghi. I think he's been too nice with the players. I think it's time to show a little bit of, to talk with the players and make them understand that last season is gone. They have to play because we're not winning matches because last year we were good. So I don't know if I feel there's a lot of faults from Simone Inzaghi this year. So the fact that you lose against Genoa, Champions League is pretty much gone. Now the goal is reaching the Europa League of year. And it's not going to be easy because there are a lot of clubs playing great football this year.
Yeah, I think the thing that frustrates me with Inzaghi, I don't think we should, now that things are going wrong, rewrite history and say that we've overrated him as a coach. I don't think that's fair. But what has frustrated me all along really has been how stubborn he is. And I think we've seen that stubbornness in all sorts of different ways over the years. What we're seeing now that's not unusual with him is that he has tended, whenever he's been called out on things going wrong with the squad, to blame the injury situation, or to talk about how many games we've had, or to mention good performances that we've had, rather than actually addressing what's gone wrong. And it might just be that he's doing that with the media and he is addressing in depth with the squad what's going wrong in these matches, but that's not the impression I'm getting from him. I think you have to take responsibility for these performances against lower table teams. I don't think you can just continue to brush them off as being, look, okay, yep, we've had injury problems, we've had a lot of games, blah blah blah. We're back in the Champions League. Look, we got through to the last 16. I don't think that's a good way of reacting to these issues. I think they need to be taking them very, very seriously. And I'm just not really getting the sense this season that that's something that they've been shouldering the responsibility for.
Yeah, the other thing is, if you blame injuries, then what is your fitness coach doing? Why is he still here? I mean, last year he blamed the injury in the second half of the season. No changes have been made in the staff. This year again, he's blaming the injuries. So, or it's a fitness coach problem, he's not good enough, or there's something else. The other thing is, when a Lazio player gets an injured, you never know when he's going to be back, right? Lulic should have been back in a couple of weeks. 1 year has passed and still is nothing. Leva, last year, you remember, couple of weeks, he got a surgery and he's gone for the season. Other teams recover players in a couple of weeks. Lazio, it's at least 1 month. So there are some problems there. And the other thing is, we rate Luis Felipe very high. But if he's always injured, then, if next season someone comes and really offer 35 million euros, okay, let's go and sign a defender who doesn't get injured every time he wakes up. Because you have to have players able to play. You can be Maradona, but if you're always injured, then it's better play with McKenzie than with Maradona, right? If he's always injured.
The sense I'm really getting from today's podcast is that you want me to sign for Lazio. You want to see me up front alongside Murici, the dream pair.
Definitely. About Murici, I mean, Radu made 2 perfect crosses in the first half where Murici wasn't playing. And then in the second half, when Murici comes in, no cross at all. This is typical Lazio.
Yeah, we had a question on Lulic actually after you mentioned there. Arvid's asked about should Lazio keep a spot for Lulic in the squad if he could recover from his injury. That means that it's only possible to sign an under-21 player for the squad registration. And then Torgeir Meyer also asked us maybe if Lazio should maybe look for another wing back as a backup. I'm assuming he means in January. But yeah, what do we do with the Lulic situation, do you think?
I think Lazio have to sign someone. If it's under 21, it's even better because obviously you can keep a spot open for Senad Lulic. But we're talking about a 34 years old. Big clubs have to do it, and Lazio's not doing it. Lulic is 34. He hasn't played in the last year or so. Inzaghi said he should be back in January. I mean, after 1 year, he's not playing. He's going to need a couple of, maybe 1 month of matches to get fit. So, I don't know. I'm really concerned. I think Lazio should definitely sign someone. But before knowing if Lulic is back or not, I don't think it's going to happen. And this is the most disappointing thing about it.
Well, a few more general questions just to finish. This one, I mentioned it before we came on, is probably one of the most negative responses we've ever seen, which is quite funny. Crow Laziale says, do you share my fear that if something doesn't change, we won't see Lazio in the Champions League again for another 10 years? I quite like to hear him expand on that if possible and explain why a decade of pain awaits from this performance. But what do you think about that?
Well, after Genoa Lazio, I can understand why he said that. Because we finally reached.
I don't think it's going to be like this for 10 years. Come on.
Could be worse. Yes. I don't know. It's impossible to say. I mean, it depends a lot on the other teams more than Lazio. So I was hoping we were making a step further to be consistently reaching the Champions League position. But this year things are going completely wrong. It's not easy to analyze now what's the reason to this failure. I think we need more time to understand what's going on. Are the players failing to play at the level? Is the manager who's losing the grip? Is there something internal that we don't know? I don't know, but the results are poor for the moment.
Yeah, and it does look like at the moment it is continuing that theme of having, one good season, one bad season, which has been a pretty continuous pattern for Lazio over the last decade or so. Obviously, in that time, managed to get in the Champions League and to a playoff as well. I mean, look, it is at least easier to reach the Champions League than it used to be because even, much worse Lazio teams than the current one have managed to get close to the top 4, but it's not always been enough to be fourth to get in the Champions League until now. So that's a reason to be optimistic. And I don't think we can completely give up on the idea of it happening this season either. I mean, look, we're only 15 games in, so I'm starting to run out of faith that that's going to happen, but it's not beyond the realms of possibility. You just need things to turn around unexpectedly, it has to be said. And on that note, actually, Rami said, what's our objectives for this season and what will be considered a failure?
That's interesting. Do you consider a failure not qualify for the Champions League this year?
I think to answer this question, it's fair to use your opinions from the start of the season rather than what they've changed to now. So I would say yes, I would have considered that a failure. It depends on the manner of it. I think if Lazio miss out in the Champions League on the last day or by a point or something like that, it's not really a huge failure. But I think that they set the bar at that level last year, so then you have to at least match what you've done last year.
Yeah, fair point. Even though passing the group stage of the Champions League, it's a big result. But yeah, I think the Serie A is reaching the top 4, probably. Even because, again, they are good teams, but Lazio have proved too that can be better than Napoli and so on. The problem is things need to change rapidly, and I don't see nothing happening to change things and put it in the right direction. That's my biggest concern.
I mean, it should be said as well, in the Champions League, Lazio already have, I would say, achieved their objective this season. Yeah. I think getting through the group was the objective, and to have already done that is, I have to say, pretty impressive. So whatever else we think about the Serie A season, that is an objective that has been achieved already. And then in Coppa Italia, I think it's always a bit up in the air how seriously teams take it. Yeah, I think this year it'll be even more so because so many league games in Europe and everything. And one final question. Jeppe Nielsen, what was our best and worst performance so far this season? He sent this in before kickoff today, so we can blame him for Lazio producing another contender for worst.
No, I would say definitely the Sampdoria Lazio.
Yeah, I'd say, I was thinking about it. I think probably Samp, closely followed by Udinese. Yeah, that was terrible.
And the best against Borussia Dortmund, the home game.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you. I think, well, there we go. That was easy, actually. I thought we'd end up arguing about that, but never mind.
Yeah. Well, I think we can wrap it up here. We're going to be back again because there's Lazio Fiorentina coming soon, just Wednesday. So in a certain point, it's a good thing because Lazio doesn't have to think about too much this match and already focus on the next one, hoping that things change. I'm a little bit concerned about that, but we're going to be back soon, guys. So thank you very much for listening. Remember to subscribe to our podcast on Spreaker, Spotify, iTunes, and if you want to support the podcast, patreon.com/Lazio Lounge. Goodbye, Alistair. We're going to talk very soon, unfortunately.
Cheers, see you then.